right, Mr. Brian Scott, thank you so much for being on the Elite Agent Show Talk. I'm so excited to have you on here because I've known you for years. How you doing, sir?
Doing fantastic. Thank you for having me on. Exciting.
I'm not sure if you know, but the first time, I didn't really meet you, but the first time I saw you was on stage. I'm not sure if you remember this.
I do remember.
You do remember, yeah, it's
I do. It was about
California.
about 2018.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Uh, what city was that? I can't remember. I did
I'm pretty
three
sure it was like
different places.
Anaheim or some. It must have been like, yeah,
Yeah.
Anaheim. Yeah.
Hmm.
I was sitting near the front and yeah, you just lit the stage on fire, man. I think you're one of the first ones. I was buying leads, since 2007, but no one really wanted, no one really asked me to talk about it, or no one really talked about it like on stage on the farmers event. And you went up there and just said how much you were spending and how you like started looking things up. And it was just a matter of fact way of presenting things.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
No, no BS. It is what it is. Uh, I don't like to sugarcoat things. I like to tell it how it is.
yeah, but it blew people's mind, I bet. But I was like, I totally get this guy. That's exactly what I'm doing. So spending money
Yeah.
on leads, but yeah, definitely
Yeah.
ahead of our time.
Yeah, absolutely. That was fun too. That was good.
Yeah. So yeah, tell the audience a little bit about your agency, where it's located, and maybe share some like information about how big is it and how many staff you have and stuff like that.
Sure. So my office is in Arlington, Texas. Arlington is right in the middle between Dallas and Fort Worth. I've been an agent since 2012, so a little over 10 years. I have currently have 7,000 policies. I'm at 11 million in premium. I have 14 staff members, and that's about it. Anything else you want to know?
No, yeah, and then we'll be seeing at PC.
Yes, yes, absolutely. I'm
So
excited about that.
congratulations for
Uh,
that.
you as well. I'm excited to hang out.
So have you always lived in Texas?
Always born
Okay,
and raised in North Texas. Went to school here, grew up here, so kind of just never left.
awesome. So how'd you get started in the insurance business? Tell us the story there.
Yeah, so before Farmers, I was a full-time musician and bartender. So I would play music 3 to 5 nights a week at restaurants, bars, private parties, events, weddings, and I would also bartend a couple of nights a week as well. So that was fun until I started getting burnt out on playing music. And I just played so much that, like I said, I started getting burnt out, and I started losing gigs due to the economy. And I had a good buddy in the industry who was an agent, and he was doing well. And at the time, his district manager needed another agent in the area. So my buddy came to me and talked to me and asked if I wanted to be an agent. I saw how well my buddy was doing, and I said, "Yeah, I need a change. I need a quote real job or real career." And at the same time, I was thinking that if I was getting tired of doing something that I love, which was music, then I'm going to get tired of anything I'm doing. And so I thought I'm
Hmm.
going to do something that everyone hates and that you can make some good and decent money. And insurance seemed to be a perfect fit for that. So I came on. That was late 2012, and the rest is history.
Wow. So you didn't have any experience at all before you were agency owner?
No, no, no insurance industry experience. Now, the music industry was actually, sorry, I mute that. The music industry was actually kind of a business for me because
Hmm.
I had to call on vendors,
Mm-hmm.
call on venues, try to get them to have me come out and play. I had to practice my craft, kind of like we practice our sales and our script. I had to invest into music equipment,
Mm-hmm.
invest time into practicing. So it was a business. It was interesting. So I also did some random roofing sales, so kind of scattered through that as well. And uh, if you ever done roofing sales, that is That's sales right there. Walk, that's walking door to door, knocking on doors in the heat. That'll get you your feet wet or your whole body wet for sales. And so I was very fortunate to do that. So that was interesting. Interesting time in my life.
How old were you around that time?
26, 27. So I was 27 when I started my agency.
Nice.
So I'm 37 now. So good full 10 years.
Nice. Yeah. So, yeah, no insurance experience, but yeah, sales experience, or actually business ownership, business operation experience, which some may argue is actually even more important.
Both.
And that was cool that you said that. Funny also that you said you didn't really you didn't really follow the passion because you tried that, but now it's time to follow the money. And it is kind of true where no one really loves insurance, so there's a little less competition when it comes to that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think I heard Mike Rowe, the guy on TV, say, "Don't follow your passion, but bring your passion with you."
Mm.
So I brought my passion of business and sales with me to insurance, and I'm sure you can relate, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, business is so fun, Playing the game is really what it's all about, and it's just you can find a lot of passion within just business, no matter what the product is. So that's what keeps us going and makes me come to work happy every day. So how'd you get started? Was it like you were a superstar from the very beginning, or what kind of situations did you run into in the beginning years?
Oh, the beginning. We all have our battle stories from the beginning. Um, the beginning, the toughest time for me in the beginning was accepting the fact that I'm working my tail off for little to no money for a year to 2 years straight. I started from scratch, zero, and we didn't
Mm,
have that three times bonus, right? We had some subsidy, which helped, but I was bringing home 1,000, 1,200, 1,250 a month, and that's what I was living off of. Now, granted, at the time, I didn't have much expenses. It was just me and my wife, no kids, no pets, a small mortgage, but we weren't doing anything. We weren't taking any trips. We were just working. That's all I had time to do. That's all I had money to do was work. I worked 6 days a week, 12 hours a day at least or more. And at the beginning, I didn't realize how much of a toll that takes on the psyche,
mm.
the mindset. And it's tough. It's tough for most people. I was having anxiety attacks to the point where I had to lay down on my office floor to calm down. It's because you're working so hard. You're like, oh my goodness, I'm not making any money. I mean, I could because I'm pushing all the money back in. So I finally got over that, thank goodness. Um, I'll tell you a quick story about that. This was the turning point for me,
Yeah, yeah.
where I kind of shut up and just put my head down and work. I was complaining to my brother. I called my brother. I was complaining to my brother. I said, I don't know about this, man. This is hard. It's not what I thought it was. I don't know if I can hang with it. I don't know if I can do it. Maybe I should just hang it up, call it quits, and cut my losses now. And this is what my brother said to me. He said, Brian, if you fail, then you fail. But if you fail, it better not be due to lack of effort. If you fail, it better not be due to lack of effort. And I realized I was just complaining. So I shut up. I just worked as hard as I could for 2 straight years. Thank goodness I did.
Wow,
Yeah,
that's awesome. Yeah, they say outwork your doubts,
that's right.
but yeah, that is a scary moment. I remember too. And then what type of activities do you think were the most important type of work you were doing that, helped
At the beginning.
or yeah, hmm
Well,
or
the best thing I did was I immediately hired someone.
mm,
So what I was doing, so I had zero. I
right.
didn't really know what I was doing. I didn't really know about marketing. I didn't really know different sources. I didn't really like or want to do networking at the time. So I just decided to pick up the phone and cold call. I just got a list and
Mhm.
started hitting the phones hard. And so I would get 2 or 3 leads in an evening. And that was good. So I get those leads and then I quote them and then I call them back and either try to close them or set an appointment to go out and see them to close them. But I quickly realized that when I was making calls to close, I wasn't generating new leads. And when I was generating new leads, I couldn't call to close. So I was like, oh, this is an obvious problem for me at the time, thank goodness. But I got somebody in to help me call and cold call and generate leads. And so it got to the point where I got somebody in and they called while I was making sales calls. And so they called, there'd be a new lead for me to quote and call back and close. And so it was just kind of an awesome duo for several months. And then I got more efficient with my closing. So I hired another person to come in and call at the same time. So I had 2 callers, and now I have twice the leads and twice the leads to call and close. That looking back now, that was probably one of the main differences because my second month of working, I sold 40, 45, 50 policies just because I had that system already in place of new lead, new lead, new lead, just a system and a process flowing.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah, you can't do both at the same time. So you're already thinking about differentiating tasks and segmenting your structuring your office, which we'll get into
Yes.
early on.
Yes. Structure is paramount. Yeah.
Uh,
Definitely want to get into that later.
yeah, well, yeah. Let's get into it a little bit later, but tell us a little bit more about the progress and any more aha moments in your careers.
Aha moments.
That's definitely one of them, right?
Yeah, that was one of them.
What about internet leads? When did you start getting into those?
Well, I was asking other agents about internet leads, and some said they were good, some said they were bad. So I just decided to try it. I needed to supplement my leads. I was getting good enough to where I needed more leads to call and close. So that was about 6 to 9 months into my first year, I believe.
Hmm.
And I wasn't doing a lot. I just needed some more to supplement. So I was doing maybe 3 to 5 leads a day,
Hmm.
which, I mean, it helped. But you were saying aha moments. Well, the one what I talked about with my brother with the work ethic thing, that was an aha moment. The the first year, when the first year of renewals rolled around and you see the renewals flowing in, or maybe the 6 months, but it was really the year, that was an aha moment.
Hmm.
Another aha moment was the 5 year mark. Um, something about the 5 year, this was my district manager was telling me too. Something about the 5 year is just an explosion of revenue. Something the way with the new business plus the renewals cycles. I don't know what it is, but he said everything about the 5th year is just massive. And the 5th year rolled around, I was just thinking because the first 4 or 5 years, I was putting everything I had back into the agency. And so when that 5th year rolled around, I now had trouble putting putting money back into the agency. I had trouble putting enough money back into the agency, if that makes sense.
You had too much money?
I was you said it, not me, right?
I get it though, yeah.
But it was a different ball game. It was I was used to not bringing home a lot of money for the first 4 to 5 years because I was reinvesting
Hmm.
all the money that I'd get. I would hire a new person. I would hire actually 2 new people, a marketer and a salesperson, or maybe even 3. Maybe I needed a new service person. So lots of payroll for 4 or 5 years every time. And I was spending, and I was telling you even back in 2018, I was spending 10, 12, 15, $18,000 a month just in leads, just in marketing costs. I was doing everything I can to invest into my business. So talk about aha moments. My first 3 months of working in my agency, the first month, I took my life savings as a broke and starving musician and bartender, my life savings of $8,000, put into account. I went to work, and the first month I spent $3,000 of it on leads and payroll and generating leads.
Hmm.
So I worked my tail off, and the next folio came around, and I made $3,000. So the second month, I said, okay, let's try $4,000, just up the leads. I worked my tail off again, and folio came around. I made $4,000. The third month got a little ballsy, and I said, let's spend $5,000. And I had a small heart attack because I spent over half of my life savings at the time, right? But I worked my tail off, and I made $5,000 on the folio, and that was an aha moment for me, because I knew that if I spent as much money as I can spend and I work my tail off, I can make it back in my first year, the first month of my first year. And here's the point I want to make on that. What investment do you know that will return you 100% in the first year? Do you know of anything, Dan?
No.
Oh, I should say anything legal?
Right. The first month too.
Yeah,
Not in the first year.
first month, the first year, but the entire year you invest and you get that back every single month if you do it right. And this is just the lead sources that I was doing. I'm sure there are other lead sources that even have an even higher return. Okay, like networking, right? That's a pretty high return. It's tough to scale. You can't reach into the proverbial cabinet and turn up the volume on a whim like you can with online leads or telemarketing. But my point is, even if my return was 80%, let's say I spent $5,000 and made $4,000. What investment do you know that returns you 80% your first year? And then every year after that for 5 to 7 years on average. There's nothing else. There's no other investment that I know of. Even today, I have other investment options for my money, but all I want to do is put my money back into my agency because it has the highest return out of anything that I know.
And we have
That
the most control over it. We know it, what's happening with that investment. It's like we have a machine that makes more money the more you put in. Why not put more in there?
Absolutely. But here's another factor that people miss, especially the people that don't have much business experience. And I missed it when I first started. I wasn't thinking about this when I first started. The factor that we miss is the equity in the business. Not only am I returning 100%, 80%, 120% the first month, first year, but we're building equity in the business. It's actually more return because of the equity. We can sell our business for whatever revenue, equity in the business.
Yeah, we're building a book, and then we actually get bonus off our book too. So building our book, um, yeah, that's such. Why do you think agents maybe sometimes struggle with making those type of investments and, like you said, not being as ballsy?
Maybe it's the lack of experience in business or investing, but I have a psychological theory, and it's called the monkey trap.
Mm.
You may or may not have heard this, but in eastern parts of the world, monkey trappers will take a coconut and hollow out a coconut, and they'll put a hole in the coconut, just like that big, and they'll put either rice or rotten fruit in the coconut. And they'll take that coconut and tie it to a tree or tie it to a stake in the ground. And the monkey will come along, discover the coconut, discover that there's rotten fruit in the coconut, and they'll stick their hand in the hole, but the hole is just big enough to, stick their hand through. And when they grab the fruit, they make a fist and they can't pull their hand out of the hole. Following me so far?
Hmm.
So the monkey trappers just walk up to the monkeys, throw a net over the monkeys, and trap the monkeys because the monkey would not let go of the fruit within inside the coconut. What's my point? My point is the fear of loss far outweighs the desire for gain. The fear of loss far outweighs the desire for gain. People are so scared of losing what they have rather than going out and getting and acquiring new things and new money and new opportunities. People will go to the ends of the earth to protect what they currently have rather than go out and work to get other things. Now, not everyone, right? I would say the majority of the population has this mentality. So to answer your question, I had $8,000 to my name, 10 years ago when I was 27 years old. If I could not mentally let go of $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 at a time to invest in my agency, I wouldn't have succeeded or succeeded as well and as hard and as fast as I do now. So that's my theory, is that the fear of loss far outweighs the desire for gain.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. Fear is a powerful motivator, but I think we could use it to motivate us in a better way because, well, if you didn't invest, there should be a fear of going out of business. Like that should be, if you want to use fear to motivate you, then not, yeah, you could lose your money, but like you could lose your hopes and dreams of building your business, or it's almost like, well, it's a risk, but not taking a risk is actually a bigger risk.
Yeah, yeah. And guys like you and myself and many other great agents probably had the fear of not making money, the fear of missing out on opportunity. I know I had the fear when I realized this return on investment. I had the fear of not making as much money as I could possibly make at the time. And nowadays, with the bonus opportunities we have, my fear is missing the bonus, missing any month of the bonus, missing the annual bonus. That's a big fear, and that's a large sum of money depending on where you're at. It's a large sum of money, anyways. And so, going back to we haven't talked about bonus yet. Going back to the return on investment,
Yeah.
back in 2012, 2013, 2014, we just had straight commission one times. But now that we have I still call it the double down bonus, now that 100% return on investment is really more like 200%. And if you factor in the annual, that could be more like 300%. So the fear of not making 3 times on your money that's fearful for me. And like I said, many other good agents, probably like yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. If you want to use fear as a motivator, use it that way.
Absolutely.
Yeah, me too. I'm feared of not reaching my potential or not, yeah, making those type of income possibilities that we may miss out on. But let's go into how you were successful with either internet leads or telemarketing. What do you train your staff members to get a good closing ratio, or what has anything to share to the agent to be able to just close those?
Let me understand your question, Dan.
Mhm.
What are you asking as far as structure or process, or what do they say in a script, or what?
Yeah, anything that tips to how to close them, because you hear it, internet leads are bad. They're bad, they don't, it's hard to close. The rates aren't competitive. There's a lot of excuses for why we can't sell. At the end of the day, as insurance agents, either us or our producers need to be able to sell whatever leads we're getting to be able to be in business. So just, any sales tips really.
I would say assume the sale, assume the quote. So we have different departments, and we'll get into that here in a minute. But our marketing department, our quoters, they will call the lead and just assume. They'll say, "Hey, John, this is Amy here at Farmers. I received your request for a quote on your auto, your home, whatever it is. Hey, I just need to get a little information. Did you have full coverage on all the vehicles, or what deductibles? Did you have $500 deductibles?" Some type of a question with an assumption. And they'll say, some people will just roll with it. Some people will say, "Oh, I didn't request a lead." And It doesn't matter. You say, oh, yeah, we received your request. Maybe it was a while back, maybe it was a family member. It doesn't matter. Let me get you this quote, see if we can help you out. It doesn't matter. So there comes a level of attitude that you need to have with any type of lead source, especially online leads. You need to be assertive, authoritative, and steamroll the conversation. If they
Mm,
really don't want it at that point, they say, no, I told you I don't want to quote. Okay, fine, bye. I don't care. Like, move on to the next person that you can help. It's a numbers game. As far as sales and closing, we have an entire script that is powerful to the point where we use the word no brainer as much as possible.
I remember
We,
that.
yeah,
Yeah.
you got good memory.
Yeah, no, that speech was powerful. I'm telling you, maybe it's a musician in you that made you that speech like a performance.
Performance.
Yeah, I almost wanted to
Maybe.
give you a standing ovation by myself.
Maybe so, but we'll use leverage points. Let me give you an example. So let's say, let's just say let's not use rate. If we're better rate, that's a no-brainer all day long, right? But let's say we're close on the rate or the same rate, but we have far better coverage. By the way, if you have the same rate with the same coverage, don't sell it. Increase your coverage to have some leverage. If they
Mm.
have minimum state minimums and we're the same rate on that, you have no leverage point other than your customer service and farmers in your company. But increase the coverage. Go up to 5150, go up to 100, 300, 100, and then the conversation goes, "Hey, we were able to pull and see some of your coverage on the auto. Did you know that your company gave you the state minimum limits of liability? Okay, that's a problem because you hit a nice brand new Mercedes, Lexus, BMW, or multiple mediocre vehicles totaling 40, 60, 80 grand, you're going to be out the difference in court, anything over the state minimum where you are. And so we have you at $100,000. Same conversation for the bodily injury. Okay, so then you go through, and then our rate came out to whatever, $250 a month for all three vehicles, whatever the cost is. You said you're paying, what are you paying on that now? 240. Okay. Oh yeah, we're within $10, but we have hundreds of thousands of dollars more in coverage. This is definitely a no-brainer. If you didn't have insurance right now and you're looking at your policy versus my policy, you'd pick the one with far better coverage for just $10 more, right? 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 Of course. Yeah, no-brainer. So you'd rather have it, not need it, than need it, not have it. So here's what we'll do. I'll cancel for you with your current company. We'll notify and deal with any lien holders for you and get that information. But like I said, I'll cancel for you. I just need your policy numbers. Can you grab those for me? And then shut your mouth. First person who speaks loses. Okay? I've sat there for 30 seconds before and not said a word. Seems like an eternity. And finally, they'll say, okay, hang on just a moment. And they go get their policy numbers. Or they ask a question. Okay, objection, fine. Answer the objection. Here's where many agents and staff fall short. They answer the objection and they don't reclose it. So yeah, so hang on. So what was that rate again? It's $250 a month. But remember, it's far better coverage. You'd rather pay $10 more a month than have to pay $10,000 or $50,000 later on in a liability claim. No brainer. So, but like I said, I'll cancel for you. I just need the policy numbers. Can you grab those? Reclose it. Dan, do you and your staff do something similar?
Yeah, making that silence is such a powerful point right there because some people will just it's so awkward they follow through or they're actually thinking why not and you really understand where they're at. You know what? Because sometimes people we get off the phone and we didn't sell them, we're wondering why not. You know, but if you don't ask, we don't really know the true answer of why they're not buying right now. So I love going for the close and not saying anything because I hear agents that don't ask for the close, which is bad. But even worse, asking for the close and if there's a little pause, or you want me to just email it to you? You know, like no, like just wait till they say
Like,
something.
well, do you want an email? Like they feel uncomfortable, they feel awkward, right?
Yeah.
They don't know where to go, they don't have the assertiveness. You mentioned the word silence. Silence is my favorite tool to use in sales. No one can out silence me. I sat on the phone for a good minute before because I thought they were going to get in their policy number so I can cancel for them. And after a minute and a half, I go, John, you still with me? Yeah, what'd you say? Oh, I said I need your policy number so I can cancel for you. Can you go grab those? And I'll sit in silence again. So it's training. Most, like you said, most people can't sit there in silence. They feel awkward. But you need to be silent. Make them feel awkward.
Yep.
Make them talk. Make them comply. Love it.
Yeah. And then, yeah, be a great listener once they start talking. You know, sometimes in sales, we just talk, 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 and we talk our way out of the sale. Sometimes, like, hey, ask a question and really, really listen to what they're going to say and see where you're at with their, yeah, where they're at. So, great
An-
stuff there.
another point is to slow down
Hmm.
at the beginning. And I hear many agents and staff and producers just talk fast because they're nervous. They subconsciously don't want the client to get off the phone or in the call or get impatient. I don't care. Once I when I my first 6 months, within my first 6 months, actually with my first couple of months, I was talking fast. I was like, talking fast. I was like trying to get through it, yada yada, and I wasn't closing. I said, there's got to be a better way. So I kind of listened to myself, listened to a call. I sounded 27 years old. I sounded like an amateur. Me going fast and talking quickly did not sound professional. So I said, you know what? It's a phone call. They can't see me. So I slowed down, lowered my tone, sounded like a professional. And once I did that, talking like this and talking over the script and slowing down, letting them soak in my words, lulling them into my sales mindset, I started closing left and right. I didn't know what happened. It was like a different world. And I said a while ago, they can't see me. So one phone call, one sales call, I set an appointment for me to go out to their house and sit down and go over the policies with them. So I did that. And I came to the door and they said, who are you? I said, I'm Brian. I'm with Farmers. We talked on the phone. I'm here for our appointment. They go, oh, we thought you were like 50 years old and gray hair. Sorry, come on in, come on in. So, and I was 27 years old. I mean, I looked 10 years younger than I am now. But the key is I didn't sound 27 years old. You can be who you want to be on the phone. And it's not a negative, manipulated thing, but it's allowing people to take you seriously. So listen to yourself. Whatever phone system you have, hopefully it can record calls. You need to start listening to your calls.
Yeah,
That's a piece of advice.
that's a great piece of advice because really our voice is all we have on the phones. And maybe again, that's the performer in you, you know?
But don't let it stop with you as the agent.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can be, but your staff, if your staff are talking quickly, too fast, they sound unprofessional, you need to be the one to sit them down and train them on that. We do a lot of sales training here. I do a lot of sales training, tonality, voice, inflection. Um, tonality, speech, and sales skills are extremely underrated, underutilized, underestimated, and not talked about enough in our training in our line of work, in my opinion.
No, I agree. I absolutely agree. Wow, good stuff there. And assuming the sale too, or assuming that you're gonna get information, I think that's powerful too. And I feel like your staff probably has more assertiveness than probably ours, but assuming it is definitely the right way to go. You know,
Yes,
just
with rapport,
mhm.
with subconscious rapport. You go, hey Dan, like, hey, this is Brian over here from. Hey, I got your request for your quote on your Your BMW, you drive a Beamer, don't you?
Yeah.
So
For
hey,
sure.
I want to get a little more information. Do you have $500 deductibles? So my tone of voice is friendly, but it's assertive and it's a professional. My goal is to always sound like I'm wearing a suit in a high-rise office like you're in right there, and with a scotch in one hand and a cigar in the other, and my headset on or my phone in my ear like this. That's how I want to appear in the minds of my prospects because it makes a difference and it will make you money, more money in the long run. I guarantee it.
I love it. Maybe we have this same favorite movie.
I think we do.
Wolf of Wall Street?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I didn't know why I thought of
Love
that.
it. Love it.
Oh man, that's
Love it.
funny.
Yeah. Well, Jordan Belfort has a training, straight line persuasion.
Hmm.
He has the book, the recent book, The Way of the Wolf, but I personally really like the straight line persuasion training. Um, that's what validated a lot of my training and gave me a couple of ideas as well.
Oh really? It's like
Yeah,
a more like a training book, like
right.
a
It's
strategy book.
more informal,
Hmm.
more like a session. He's has a class and he's training, and it's really powerful the way he speaks. And again, it's not about negative manipulation. You can use sales skills and persuasion in a positive manner. When I have a quote that is hundreds of dollars higher, we're same or even less coverage, we're just not a good fit. I'm not going to persuade somebody to put themselves in a worse situation. But when I legitimately have better coverage and or better rate with a better company, with a better agency, I believe all those things. And I'm going to persuade people to change. If they don't change, that's on them. That's not on me. But I'm going to do everything I can in the right way, saying the right things with the right tone to close everyone who is closable.
Yep. And then if anyone, I mean, so many things to take away from this one, but especially the no-brainer one, because who wants to feel like they don't have a brain?
But
You can,
that one's powerful because people overthink it. So many agents and staff get into the details of the policy. And yes, you have to do so at some point. But you if you say no brainer, if you can make it simple and say, listen, we have same coverage, better rate, or we have same coverage, or sorry, you know,
more
same
coverage.
cover, whatever, right? Some leverage point. It's a
Mhm.
no-brainer. Yeah, it's a no-brainer. So I'll cancel for you, and you make it simple for them to change. You just stop it. Let me tell you the story. I had a sales producer. He was on the phone. He was just getting into it. He was getting into the details. He wasn't following the script I told him to follow. And I was listening to it and I was looking at the quote sheet and everything. And after a good 15, 20 minutes, he got off the phone. He didn't close it. So I called him in. So come here. What happened? Oh, I don't know. I go, well, did you follow the script? Kinda. I go, no, you didn't follow the script. What about all the training we just had? Did you say no brainer? No. Okay. Here's what I did. I picked up the phone. I called that person back and I sold them in 3 minutes.
Hmm.
I summarized everything. I said, hey, I know you talked to Ben, but listen, here's what we got. We have this, we have this, we have this better, that better. We have farmers, we have an agency here, we're local, we're going to take care of you. This is a no-brainer. We'll cancel for you. I just need your policy numbers. Can you grab those? That was the gist of the call. And I closed it in 3 minutes. That guy didn't work for me. He left, or maybe I fired him. I don't know. He couldn't follow a simple script. The script, Dan, do you follow a script? Do you have your people follow a script?
Not as I'm pretty loose with what they are have in their own style.
Okay. I'm going to encourage you and everyone else watching this video to at least try a script. And here's why. The same concept. I had a sales guy get on a call, didn't follow the script. Fine, let it go. I said, Next call, oh, I want you to read your script for 20 minutes. I want you to read your script. And next call, I want you to follow the script or we're going to have problems. Okay? He said, okay. Got on the next call, followed the script, closed it. Okay, fine. Maybe he was lucky. Made another call, little issue with scheduling. The third call, followed the script, closed it. I'm telling you, a script is powerful. Even a life script. We have a life script. Same thing happened. My producer was on the phone, freely talking, going off on tangents, whatever. And he remembered, thank goodness he did. He remembered, what am I doing? And he pulled out his script, followed the script, established the need for life insurance, got a life application filled out, all from following the script. Every single call that I make, I follow a script. I don't read it because I wrote it and I have it all memorized, but I still follow a script. It allows me and my staff to focus on other things like rapport and problem solving and finding ways to make the sale. Script, people hate the thought of script. I hate the thought of script. I don't like it, but I have learned that it's extremely effective. It's too effective not to use.
Yeah, well, when you're performing a song, you have a script.
That's,
You just don't wing it, right?
that's right. The best salespeople in the world follow a script. Jordan Belfort follows a script, his own script.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I need to maybe revisit that and have stuff written down. It's more of, yeah, so that's great. That's great that you're sharing that with us, the importance of a script.
hey,
So thank you for.
make it a make it an experiment.
Mm-hmm.
Take how many producers do you have, Dan?
15 or 16 or something like
You've grown.
that. Yeah,
You,
yeah.
oh my goodness, really? Dan, I saw a recent Facebook post from you. It was a picture of a computer and computer monitors, and you said, "I guess this is my only job these days of setting up a new computer,
Oh,
new
yeah.
new new equipment for staff." And I laughed to myself, and I thought, how true is that? Because I've been there. I know your pain. It seems like all you're doing is setting up new stuff for new staff.
Yeah, that's my
But
main
what I'm
job
saying
now.
it's what?
That's my main job.
That's right. What I was saying is making an experiment. So take
Hmm.
maybe 20, 30% of your producers or up to 50% and give them a script and train them on a script and see if they produce more than your control group of no script.
Hmm.
That way you can see if slash how it works, and it will be evidence to the rest of the team that following a script is more effective.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Thank you.
You're welcome.
It's like a consultation session.
I'll send you an invoice, buddy.
Should have said that. But let's get into the structure, okay, of
Okay.
how you kind of departmentalize and what type of duties. And yeah, really want to get into that.
Okay. Absolutely. So I want to start off on this part by saying that I understand that there are many different ways to do things. Okay. I understand that there's 50 different ways to skin a cat. I say that because when I talk, I tend to talk in absolutes. I tend to talk that my way is the end all be all, and my way is the only way, and that you're an idiot or it's a no brainer to only do my way. Okay. I understand. So take what I say with a grain of salt. This is just what I do. I believe in it. I believe that it works. I believe that if any agent or agency implements any part of the structure will help them. And it has helped other agents that I've mentored in the past that have just implemented a part of this structure. Okay. Again, if you do things differently and you have a different structure and it works for you, fine, great. Take this with a grain of salt or implement any part of this. Okay, let's start with the departments. I have my agency structured into 3 different departments: marketing, sales, and service, in that order: marketing, sales, and service. So let me quickly explain each department and what they do within each department. So marketing department are my front runners. They will telemarket, call, they'll generate leads, they'll take inbound calls for quote requests, they'll receive online leads that we purchase. They'll take all the data that they get and put it on a quote sheet, and they will build the quotes in the system. Okay, that's a key.
Hmm.
Once they build the quote, they prep it, upload it into our lead management system. Currently, we use DYL, so they'll upload in DYL. So that's all I do. All day, I have 3 people in my marketing department where all day they'll generate leads, gather information, build quotes, and prep it and upload it into our lead management system. So now, once that's prepped, now it transitions into the sales department. So currently I have 3 people in my sales department. They will take the leads from the marketing, the already quoted, built leads in the system that have a rate already ready to go, and they'll call them back. They'll call the clients or the prospects back in order to close the sale. So they'll double call so they don't get them on the line the first call. They'll call immediately again. Voicemail, text, email, mail, and they'll follow up with all of the normal sales activities. When they get them on the phone, they go through the script that we just mentioned. And then when they close them, they get all the information, all the documentation, payment information, quote numbers, lien holder information, mortgage information, and we'll put that all on a centralized one sheet, one pager. And my sales department, my sales guys will send that to the service department. Okay. So recap of sales. They'll call leads, close it, get information, and give it to service department to submit. Okay. So now let's go to the third department, service department. Really, I have a sub department in my service department. We call it the submission team. We have 2 people that are in charge of submitting new policies. So the submission team will take payment, submit the policy, the buttons in the system. They'll scan documents, send e-signs, follow up on e-signs, follow up on other documentation, all the back-end work involved with submitting new policies. Okay. And then the other part of my service team, I have 4 other people in my service team that will do normal service activities, billing, vehicle changes, all the normal things. The part of the point I want to make is that my sales department, they do not service. My sales department do not submit policies. How long does it take to submit a new policy? Anywhere from 5 minutes to what seems like 5 hours, right? And if it's held up in underwriting, it can be strung out for 5 days. I don't want my sales guys worrying about submitting policies. I want them focused on getting on the phone and closing, which is what they do best. My sales they also do not market. They don't do marketing activities, the first department. They don't generate leads. They don't build quotes. Okay. Building quotes is what? Data entry. I don't want my sales guys building quotes. I want them staying on the phone, closing business. Here's a point I want to make is that departments do not cross. The 3 departments do not cross. So let's go through that. Marketing does not sell. I want marketing focused on generating new leads. Not only that, is they're not trained to sell. They haven't gone through the rigorous sales training that we have, like we just kind of went through a little bit there. And they don't want to sell. That's not part of their personalities. They're happy with generating leads, data entry. That's what they do. My marketers do not service. I want them focused on generating new leads for my sales department. Okay. My sales do not market. We've already been through that. My sales do not service. We've already been through that. My service do not market. They're at the opposite ends. My service do not sell except for cross-sell. I do allow several people in my service department to cross-sell. Why? Because it's a warm sale. They already have at least one line of business with us. The client's foot is already in the door. It's an easier sell. versus a new business, new household. If it's new business, new household, it's a different type of sale. It requires a different mindset, a different skill level in most cases. Okay. Also think of this as an assembly line. So Henry Ford, he developed the first automotive assembly line for vehicles, and it was said that he cut down assembly and production time by over 80%. So this is the same thing. You have an assembly line in your agency. So think of it as a manufacturing plant and a production line in a manufacturing plant. You got your raw materials that you have to order and organize and load into the production line. That's your marketing. Then you have your production line workers, who are your skilled labor, your highly trained, highly skilled people, taking the raw material, which are the leads, and converting them into product, which is converting them into sales. Then you have at the end of the production line, you have all your service, your packaging, quality control, your servicing, reorders, returns, whatever it is. That's the servicing. Assembly line. What happens when a part breaks down on an assembly line? You take that part out, replace it with a new part, and you're back in business. What happens when a part breaks down on your assembly line in your agency? You hire another person for their one or two jobs within their one department, and you're back in business. You're not training them on all jobs, all skills. The agents and the agencies who have people who do it all, they market, build quotes, sell, submit, and service. If those people ever leave you, that's a bad day. That hurts you, because now you have to come in and you have to bring someone else in and train them on all those jobs again. Efficiency. You with me so far?
Yeah.
One other point I want to make is two other points I want to make is agents have CSSRs. Okay. Again, I want to say, if this works for you and you do it, that's fine. But the problem is the path of least resistance. It's customer service and sales representative. So even in the title, you're crossing departments. And the problem is, you go to your CSSR and you say, hey, how we doing? How we doing on new business this week? We have a good push for new business. How we doing? And inevitably, they always say, well, I had 8 billing issues. I had 10 FFRs. I had this service issue, that service issue. And your sales will always take a back seat to service. Your sales will always suffer compared to service. Why? Because service is a reactive position. It's a black and white, do this task, get it done. Sales is a proactive, self-motivated, self-directed, self-disciplined position. You got to get on the phone constantly and stay on the phone and make sales. Some agencies will have separate service and sales. Okay, they have one or two departments, one separation. But the problem is, in my opinion, again, is that their sales, they have their sales producers also generate leads and also build quotes. So the same problem happens with the path of least resistance. You get a sales producer who doesn't feel like making sales calls, and they just would rather generate leads or build quotes for whatever reason. And maybe later they'll do some sales calls. Another problem is that you get a true salesperson who loves to close and is ambitious and wants to make money and wants to close, and they like talking with people, and that's what they were born to do. If you have them generate leads or build quotes and do data entry, a lot of them, in my experience, get frustrated. They get frustrated. They have to divide their time into these different activities. Another point I want to make real quick is this allows you to pay different positions accordingly and appropriately.
Mm-hmm.
A marketing lead generator and data entry quote builder doesn't require the same pay as a sales producer, who is your highest paid, highest skilled, hardest to train, hardest to find person in your agency. You can reallocate the funds more to your salespeople and somewhat less to your marketing. And guess what? It's acceptable. It's acceptable within the agency because they know what they're doing. My marketing staff hear my sales staff all day, every day. And many of them have said, I could never do sales, or I do not want to do sales, because they understand that the sales are on the phone 3-4 hours a day, every day. Just, it's exhausting. And they don't want to do it. And there's no question. They understand that sales makes more money, but they don't want to do it. And they're happy doing what they do. And vice versa. Sales know that they make more money, and they know that data entry makes less money. They don't want to do data entry. One more point. I want to go back to assembly lines. You want to try, if you can, to have multiple assembly lines in your agency. What does that mean? Well, if a production line breaks down, if the factory only has one production line, all the production stops. But if they have multiple lines, then they'll always be in business. So what does that mean for your agency? So you want to have multiple people in each department.
Right.
I have 3 people in my marketing department, 3 people in my sales department, and 6 or 7 people in my service department. If a marketer is out sick for the day, a salesperson has a sick kid and has to stay home, and I had to recently fire a service person, I still have 2 or 3 other assembly lines running. My factory, my machine, my agency will never fully break down. We will always produce new business because of multiple assembly lines and departmentalization.
Nice. Great stuff. Um, man, so many questions, but let's start off with the marketers. So the marketers, they do, you say data entry, but that's a talent in itself to call people, right? And connect with them and get them to open up and give them information. So what's your compensation like, if you don't mind sharing, as far as like generating a lead? That is there additional pay for that?
Yes. So if you can, in a general zoom out macro statement, always try to have some type of performance-based compensation commission. So for my marketers, they're anywhere that base. I have a base of anywhere from $12 to $15 an hour based off tenure experience, but they also get commission if they generate the lead. Right now, I give $1 per line of business generated. So if they can generate home, auto, and motorcycle, that's $3. And if they can do 2 of those in an hour, that's an extra $6 an hour. Okay.
And that's whether it's sold or not.
Correct.
Hmm.
I do not tie the activities and the outcomes of sales to marketing. They can't help that.
Hmm.
I want them to focus on what they can. I want them generating as many leads as possible. I will also want them quoting as many leads as possible. Here's what I
Now,
mean. So we get online leads, or any leads coming in. Those still have to be quoted, right?
mhm.
So I also give a tiered compensation for how many quotes they can do in a day. If they can do 1 to 5 in a day, they get $1 per household quote that they build. Home and auto, that's $1. If they do 6 to 10, they get $2 per household quote. If they do 11 to 15, it's $3 per household quote. And 16 or more, they get $4 per household quote. I used to just pay $2 per household quote. Problem is, they would just do a few here and there, and there's no motivation to build quotes as fast and as hard as they can. So now they want to do 16 plus a day, each of them. So I have 3 marketers doing 16 leads, sending to my sales guys. So my sales guys are receiving, we kind of weed out some. So my sales guys get 10 to 12 good leads, new leads per day.
Nice.
Yeah.
Um, do they ever mess up on a quote and the sales agents have to fix that? That's the sales agent's job?
The answer to your question is yes. It will happen. Nobody's perfect. It will continue to happen. But the salesperson does go in and go through it, make sure everything is correct. And when they find if it's one a week, they'll just disregard it and fix themselves. If it's a reoccurring issue, excuse me,
It's
they
training
will,
situation.
yeah,
Yeah, a
they'll
training
email
opportunity.
exactly, they'll email the marketer and say, hey, you keep missing this. Make
Mhm.
sure you do this. So it'll happen. It,
Yeah, that's the way they learn.
yeah,
And then, what if the marketer gets a hold of somebody, gets all the information, it's pretty hot, you know? Could it be a warm transfer situation? Because sometimes I that's the process I kind of worry about, where it's hard to get them on the phone again.
yes. So I will admit and concede that is the main problem with my concept of departmentalization. I understand that the urgency and those hot ones can be lost. Now, it doesn't mean that we can't or won't have them hold and let the marketer build the quote and then transfer them to the salesperson. That's happened before. But most time we'll say, great, the marketer will say, hey, great, let me take this information, let me build your quote, and we'll have a licensed sales agents give you a call. When's the best time for them to call, or what's a good time? And they'll try to set an appointment. So the benefits of departmentalization, in my opinion and in my experience, far not far, but they outweigh the downside of not being able to have that hot transfer right then and there, just for efficiency's sake and process sake. Great question, though.
Yeah, no, that's that's awesome. And then the submission team, they don't conversate with the client at all, unless there's missing documents and whatnot.
Correct. Yes. So that's a good question. That's a common question. Is that people worry about the transfer, and many agents will say, "Well, you're going from one person to another person to another person. Well, how does that look to the client? You know, it looks bad." In my opinion, it looks good because we are a team. We're a company. That's what any company does. Any company has departments. Any company has a greeting department, a sales department, and a service department, or more departments, HR department, advertising department. It's all departmentalized.
Mhm.
But I think it looks good. It looks like we're organized. It looks like we're bigger than we are. Um, but it doesn't matter because it's not, even if the client has a problem with it, I don't care. We've never really lost a client because of the transitions from one person to another. Plus, the salesperson will say, hey, so I've got my service team. They're going to take it from here. They're experts in submitting policies, getting your documents, the e-signs, all that. Their names are blank and blank, and they'll send an email with that same information. And to answer your question, yes, if the submission team need to reach out to the new client, they will to get documents, more information, problems. I even have one of my submission team staff members somewhat versed in sales because sometimes they'll need to almost resell it for those waffling clients that wanted a
Mm.
solid sale from the sales
Buyer's
department. Yeah.
buyer's remorse,
Right.
or a cross-sell opportunity.
Right. Absolutely. I want to touch on something here. A common question about departmentalization is relatability. So some agencies might be smaller with, a few
Right.
staff members, and they say, Brian, I don't have 14 staff like you do. How can I departmentalize? Well, you can still departmentalize. And this is what I did when I first started. If you have at least two staff members, then you can departmentalize because one of the staff members can be your marketer. You, as the agent, are the sales, and then the other staff member is the service, right? You can even do it if you have one staff member because part time, that one staff member, part time in the mornings, they can do service. In the afternoons and the evenings, they can do marketing, and you're still sales. So another question I get is, well, I have a blended department, meaning cross department CSSRs, and everybody does everything. How do I transition into a departmentalized agency? And for the record, I haven't done this myself because I've always pretty much been departmentalized. But my idea would say, have a meeting. Hey, say, hey, this is, I want to try this. Let's try this, and talk to your team, see who's interested in being what department, or you as the agent assign different people into different departments. If you're watching this right now, you're probably already thinking of several of your staff where they could fit best in each department.
Yeah, you probably know the best,
Yeah.
but I definitely agree with, if you have a top sales agent, you don't want that person doing anything else but that. Their time is just too valuable, their skill is too valuable to have them using any of your time on other activities. Um, and,
Time. Sorry, Dan.
yeah.
That's the key, and that's what I learned early on. Time. I didn't want. I can bring somebody in to generate lead and build a quote. I can bring someone in to service and do basic service skills. It's harder to train sales. So I primarily did sales for the first year or two myself, but I had other people doing all the other things for me. That's the key. My time as a salesperson and a business owner is more per hour than everyone else.
Yep. Yeah.
Have you
Okay.
have you heard of the 2000 equation?
Mm-mm.
So take your take your net earnings of last year, or take your earnings you would like. If you're a newer agent, take your earnings that you want to make, net earnings that you want to make in a year. Let's just use an example: $150,000 you want to make in a year. Whatever your net earnings were for last year, or whatever you think you're worth, divide that by 2,000. Have you heard this, Dan?
Mm-mm.
Okay. So do that equation. Take your net earnings, get out your calculator, whatever it is, divide it by 2,000.
Okay.
Okay. So, example, if you made $150,000 last year, divide that by 2,000. You
Already.
don't have to give me the number, Dan.
I know.
Uh, want to make sure you make sure that, but that number that you come up with
Uh-huh.
is what you are worth per hour.
Okay.
That number that you came by, that equal sign after the equal sign is what you're worth per hour. So let's use the example of $150,000. Somebody made $150,000 last year net earnings before taxes. $150,000 divided by 2,000 is $75. That means that agent is worth $75 an hour. Now, why do we use 2,000? It's because there's roughly 2,000 working hours in a year. Okay. So $75 an hour. What's my point here? Your time is worth $75 an hour. What are you doing as an agent? Are you generating leads? Are you building quotes? Are you servicing? If so, can you not bring someone else in and pay them 15, 20, even $25 an hour? You you probably should, because your time is worth $75 an hour. Why would you do anything else but work that is $75 an hour? Does that make sense?
Yep.
When I first heard this, I just my brain just exploded, like light bulbs bursting everywhere. It's like the power of time is you said time, and that just triggered me. Sorry, but you just
No.
remember this. Remember that. If I in this. Oh, sorry, my brain is moving too fast for my mouth. This also this also applies to personal tasks. What do I mean by this? Cleaning your house, um, doing your laundry, mowing your yard.
I haven't
What
I haven't gone to the grocery since I got married.
you see what I'm saying?
Or even that's why I DoorDash every single day.
Exactly. I don't cook, absolutely not. But I get people who say, "Oh, I love to mow my yard." Come on, really? Get somebody to do it for 20 bucks an hour. It may cost you a total of 20 to 50 bucks. But guess what? That's a Saturday. Your time is worth $75 an hour or more. You should be in the office, building your business, making sales calls,
Writing out scripts.
anything, anything that's worth $75 an hour or more. Stop doing personal tasks where you can hire someone else to come in and do it. I recently, I say recently, it was in 2018, I hired an executive assistant.
Hmm.
I had to. it was going to stretch me a little thin on my budget at the time, but I knew that I had to in order to continue to grow. Thank God that I did because, what do we get? Like hundreds of emails a day. We spend at least an hour or two every day in emails and sending out email, delegating emails and responding to emails. I got sick of emails. I don't do emails anymore. I have my assistant go through my emails, flag the very important ones for me, and she delegates the rest of it or even responds for me. I freed up 1 or 2 hours a day, which is 5 to 10 hours a week, which is what, 20 to 40 hours a month just in emails. Dan, I'm hesitant to tell you this, but my assistant also builds and preps the computers, the new computers for new staff as well. So,
Yeah, I was thinking like, should I be training somebody to do this? But yeah, no. I'm right with you with that. There's so many things that I do right now that I'm thinking like, how can I train somebody to do it to free up more time so I could spend more time building the business,
absolutely. And you
you
always
know?
need to be thinking, what am I doing? And can I train someone else to do it? It's the same concept as teach a man to fish, or give a man a fish versus teach a man to fish, right? You give a man a fish for a day, he'll eat for a day. You teach a man to fish, he'll eat for a lifetime. And here's a quote that I really love is do what you do best and pay others to do the rest. Do what you do best, pay others to do the rest.
Especially if the
Power to
best is
others.
the most important thing, you know? And as an agency owner, yeah, our responsibility is to, you know, make sure the game we get to keep playing the game and the agency is growing and everyone's financial goals, opportunities are there. So we can't be spending our time working on stuff that doesn't really move the needle, you know? So yeah, great stuff right there. Time management, you know, auditing what you're spending your time on very carefully and just delegating. And it actually makes you better at your job because you're doing less. Same thing with your staff too. You know, like the marketers, you can only be good at so many things, but if you only have a few things to do, you can really master it. You know, so actually everyone's getting better at their job, and the better you're at your job, you enjoy your job better too. Because if you have 100 things to do and you don't know how to do certain things, then you don't have the confidence and you just don't feel good about. You're not good at your job, so you don't like your job. And yeah, efficiency. There's just so many things that you mentioned there that will make a big difference for agency owners and for their staff members to make it a more enjoyable job because they're better at it. And then most importantly, a successful job, successful business that you're going to be building.
Yeah. Yeah. Contentment. People are happy in doing what they're doing. Um, I, I hired a girl for sales once and I trained her in sales and she just wasn't, it was like a fish out of water, square peg in a round hole. But we moved her to service and she is thriving. She's happy. But part of the point here is that if you departmentalize, you can do that. If I had a blended department, a blended agency with no departments, she would be doing marketing, sales, and service. But she would hate the sales part. So to your point, she's happy not doing sales. She's happy doing service, what she loves to do. So that's a great point, Dan.
Yeah, and you know, part of our job is to put people where they, you know, can succeed. You know, so yeah, great stuff there, Brian.
Well,
Man,
I'm trying to be like you. I'm trying to get 16 producers.
you know, recently I've been getting lucky in California. There's just been a lot of disruption, and a lot of producers are actually looking for jobs. You know, it's never been like this ever because you know how it is. Like we have to hire somebody and train them from what liability means from day one. But actual producers, because of certain companies' comp plan changes or other agency owners not being able to make it, there's actually been more talent looking for other sales positions than ever before.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah,
A lot of
so
opportunity. Is
yeah,
you obviously have the mindset of always be hiring.
Oh
So
yeah.
always, the phrase always be closing.
Yep.
We also need to adapt the mindset of always be hiring because people will come and go constantly.
And sometimes there's times where it's a lot easier than others, and sometimes it's extremely hard. So if you're only doing that sometimes, maybe you're missing out on a time when it's actually the golden opportunity. You know,
That's true.
so recessions, disruption in the market, other agencies not doing well, other companies not doing well. Definitely want to be always hiring because you never know once, that market gets hot.
Then I got a question for you.
Yeah.
How many people, wait, when did you start again?
2007.
2007. What, 15, 16 years?
Mhm.
In your career, how many total people have you hired, both current with you and people that have gone on? Or I mean, you may not know the
Wow.
exact number, but if you had a
Yeah.
guess,
If I had to guess, well, fortunately, I have uh, six people who've been with me for over 7 years, one over 10. So I would call them the core. And I have 15 more people, some of them three, two, one, two this week. Man, I had to guess probably, I haven't been too bad. I probably three times that though. Probably I've made over 60 hires in my career.
60?
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm always, that's one of my favorite questions to ask agents. And my number over my 10 years is 90.
Mm. You probably
I've
have a shorter
hired,
leash.
what?
I feel like you have a shorter leash. I'm just too nice.
You're probably right.
I need I
I
need to
don't have,
be more, yeah. But yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
I just don't have any tolerance. You know, I've recently followed Alex Hormozy on YouTube, and he says you have to, not have to, but it's a good idea to cull your agency. You got to get rid of your stragglers, your straggling salespeople. I don't actively do that, but I just don't. I make it an environment that if you're not working, everyone notices, and it's a problem. And then I'm constantly asking, "Hey, how we doing? Hey, how many quotes? Hey, how many calls you make? How many sales you make?" It's they know when it's not a good fit, and so more often than not, they will leave.
Hmm.
But my point is back to always be hiring because I've hired 90 people in my 10 years. That's it's almost 10 a year. So that's 9 a year. So that's one every 6 weeks. Think about that. Hiring someone new every 6 weeks. And it still blows my mind. But it's a numbers game, just like sales.
Yep.
Staffing is a numbers game. And
Yep.
and you'd rather have, oh, here's a pro tip. Pro tip for you
I
here.
love it. Yeah.
Um, when you're hiring, if you can, hire in multiples.
Yep. I had two people start on Monday. Yep.
Absolutely. Why? You want to answer this one for me?
Well, it's kind of like, I had two boys. One was eight. They weren't twins, but they were 13 months apart. But, if you're changing diapers, might as well do two.
Right.
It's just like if you're saying something to one person, the other person can listen. It's
Right.
just efficiency reasons. It's just
Yes.
um and there's something to be said about those two having camaraderie and learning from each other and learning from each other's mistakes.
So you inevitably somebody's going to flake out or not show up or it's not
That's
going to
true
work out.
too.
But
Yeah.
hopefully you get to keep one of them. And like you said, you get to train them at the same time. You've maximized your time and your efficiency by training multiple people at once.
And there's also a little
And
bit of a competitiveness there too sometimes.
I was just about to say, you pit them against each other and tell
Hmm.
them whoever does better gets to keep the job.
Hmm.
I'm kidding. Don't.
But there's a little bit of that. There's naturally, people always want to, hopefully, that's what we look for, are the
make
people that want to
make it like
win.
like a Hunger Games of insurance.
Yeah. Yeah. No, but yeah, we do have to always look out for the bottom 10% though, and always trying to replace. But the way I look at always be hiring is that, you could always try to be selling, but yeah, you could get a big case, but man, one good hire is game changer. And to feel we back to the fear of not spending money to, lose money on a bad hire. But my fear is like, man, what if I wasn't hiring at the time when I found my top agent who's been with me for 10 years?
Let me add to that with a story. There was a time where I hired in multiples. I hired four people at one time for one position. Now, granted, I was behind on my business plan as far as the amount of people I wanted at that time. So I was trying to play catch up, but I hired four people. So out of those four people, how many do you think stuck around after 4 to 8 weeks? Want to take a guess?
Two?
One.
Yeah.
One out of four. Thank goodness I hired all four of them, right?
Right. You would, because you never know when you hire somebody.
But to your point, what you said, that one guy went on to become the top producing sales agent in the entire state of Texas. That one guy.
Yeah.
But
Wow.
here's what's going to blow your mind, and this is to your point. If I did not hire all four at one time, I would not have hired that one guy. The other candidates looked better. They looked better as far as experience, sales experience, industry experience, and that one guy was the wild card. So what I said, fine, we'll just try it. I just need people to stick because I knew I was throwing four pieces of spaghetti against the wall and I was hoping one would stick, and it did. But again, I would not have hired that one guy. But if I would hire the top two people instead of four, he wouldn't have been around. It still blows my mind to this day. So that's a very good point, Dan, about hiring the right person at the right time. Opportunity costs, missing out, the fear of missing out on money, and the fear of missing out on the right person at the right time.
Man, great conversation, Brian. I mean, I want to just say thank you for your time. I mean, it's just great stuff. I know the agents out there got a lot of value from your knowledge. We talked about big picture stuff, but also tactical stuff that could really help them on their next sales calls, what the agency owner should be working on. Me personally, too, I have a kind of a to-do list here. So I'm excited. But yeah, man, I'm just happy to, be able to know you and share ideas with you and help each other out, not just in the past, but, moving on forward too, because it's so important for us agents to surround ourselves with other agents that know what they're doing and have plans for the future for the agency. What kind of plans would you say you have for your agency moving forward?
It's kind of a vague and cheesy answer, but I'm going to do as much as I can to capitalize on the opportunity that I have. And it all comes down to the same things. It comes down to investing enough money, always be working on marketing and marketing streams and sources, always be hiring and hiring the good people. One other point I want to make here in a minute is my brain is moving too fast for my mouth again. Hang on.
It's a
I
good
have too
one.
much coffee here. We're talking about bottlenecks. So if you have a marketing stream that you can scale, much like probably what you've done, Dan, you've got marketing that you can scale. Now your bottleneck is finding enough people and the right people to work those leads. Am I right?
That's like my only job. Once you have the marketing parts figured out, and that's scalable, then my job really is just setting up computer stations.
New spots. That's right.
Yeah, which is the
And
biggest challenge. And then once you kind of have a system for that part, then sky's the limit.
that's right. It's scalability, solving your bottlenecks, and just keep going. You keep replicating. So that's to answer your question. My goal is to increase marketing, increase leads, um, increase people to field those leads, and make as much revenue, bonus, commissions as I possibly can in my market at my time. I know many agents that are hunkering down. They are going on the defensive like a tortoise hunkering in their shell. I've never done that, and I probably never will do that. Yeah, times are different right now, but guess what? We're still selling. We're still killing it. It's a different game. We're having to play a little harder, um, practice more, so to speak, in the sports world. But we're still doing it as hard and as fast as we can. And I want to do more because when other agents are hunkering down, now it's time for you to increase and ramp up because the bee's nest is being stirred. The disruption in the market is there. The bees are swarming. Grab as many bees as you can while the disruption is going on. That's my goal. That's my goal right now for my agency. One of the problems I'm having right now, and this is a problem for many agents, probably every agency, is finding enough good people. If I can just find the right people, so I'm actually working on recruiting right now. I'm finding different ways to recruit. I don't have all the answers. I don't have silver bullets for marketing. I don't have silver bullets for recruiting. I wish I did, but always be closing, always be hiring. That's the name of the game.
Yep.
Dan, I wanted to thank you for having me on. I want to thank you for having these talks in general because I know many agents love it and many agents get a lot out of it. So thank you for what you do and giving back as you do.
Oh yeah, no, thank you. Yeah, I do try to help out my agents, but again, time is valuable, so it's very difficult to call me at my office, and I can't spend time one-on-one with the agents. But this is a way I try to give back. But thank you for being part of it, Brian, because without guests like you, I couldn't do the show. And honestly, I do it for selfish reasons too, because I'm learning firsthand from the nation's best agents. So, yeah, Brian, let's keep in touch. Let's continue to witness each other's growth, share what's working for us, and take it to the next level and enjoy playing this game and doing more and as much as we can.
Absolutely. It's been a pleasure, Dan. I appreciate it.
All right, thanks again, Brian.
All right.
Catch you later. See ya.